In this training, we're going to cover how to install the LockDown browser into your course and how to associate it with a particular quiz. Now, I'm going to do all this inside the Moodle Introduction for Students course, which all students, all teachers have access to. What I'm actually doing here is creating a sample quiz students can come in here and take to make sure the LockDown browser works, to make sure the webcam works with the Respondus monitor, so they can test everything out before they even get to your class. So I'm going to show you how to set that up using this course as an example. To begin with, we have to install the LockDown browser block. And blocks are not as easy to find as they used to be. In this version of Moodle, blocks are located on the course dashboard. So the first thing we need to do is go to the course dashboard. We'll see what blocks are already available. And notice that we do not have the Respondus LockDown browser block. So I need to add that. We'll add a block by editing the blocks. And then down at the bottom, there's a drop-down list of all the blocks that you don't have that you can add to your course. As you can see, there's a bunch. Down towards the bottom, there is Respondus LockDown Browser. Click on that. It then adds the LockDown Browser block to your course. That's the first step. Now we have to go in and configure the quiz to use the LockDown Browser. First thing we have to do is get back out of edit mode. So I'll turn editing off. That takes me back to the start page of the course. I then need to go back into the course dashboard. Now I have the Respondus LockDown browser block here. I can click on the dashboard for it and then brings up the browser block. Now what this browser block does is shows you all the quizzes you have in the course and whether or not the LockDown browser and Respondus monitor have been set up for them. So the LockDown browser is the secure browser that keeps students from doing other things while they're taking the course. The Respondus monitor basically records the student using a webcam while they're taking the quiz. So this block shows you all the quizzes you have in your course. Find the one you want to activate LockDown browser for and select that, go into settings, and this is where you can turn on the LockDown browser. Notice you don't have an option for the monitor. You can't use the monitor unless you use the browser first. So if I turn on LockDown browser for this particular quiz, then you notice I now have the option to turn on the webcam monitor system. Now we aren't going to get into all the details here for all these options. That's in the documentation. We're going to keep this kind of short. But notice that there's lots of options here. You pick and choose the ones you want to use. The more options you provide, the more things the students are going to have to do to be able to take this quiz. Just remember that you're using internet access, you're using a specialized browser, you're using a webcam for all this. You're just introducing things that can cause problems when a student takes a quiz. So we don't recommend using a LockDown browser and monitor except for those quizzes that are the most important, like final exams or certification exams or something like that. We really don't recommend you using this for every quiz in your course. So select the options you want for the LockDown browser. I'm going to turn on Require Respondus Monitor. It tells you a few things about what that means, what that's going to do. I'm going to continue to Respondus monitor, and now we have a whole lot more options we can choose. Notice some are turned on by default, some you can turn on and off. Again, the documentation covers what all these things are. I'm just going to leave everything as is and click on Save and Close. It takes us back to the LockDown browser dashboard. Now I see that LockDown browser and Respondus monitor are required. That was quick, but that's the basic process for now assigning the LockDown browser to a quiz. You do each quiz individually, and you can turn on LockDown browser, and if you want to, also turn on Respondus monitor. Now, real quickly, I want to show you what this looks like from the student. Okay, I'm logged in as Jane's student. I'm going to go to that same course, which is the Moodle Introduction for Students. You're going to find the section Online Proctoring with LockDown Browser. And up to this point here, everything looks just like it did before. It's when a student clicks on the quiz that they're going to notice something different. So I select the quiz. Whatever you had in here before to tell the student about the quiz is still here. Tells you how many attempts you have. But it does say this quiz has been configured so students may only attempt it using Respondus LockDown Browser. And once again, down here, Respondus LockDown Browser with Respondus Monitor webcams required for this exam. So the student knows at this point something's different about this particular exam. Now, I cannot activate this because I'm using a screen capture program, which is one of the things that LockDown Browser prevents you from using. But just know from this point, the student either has to download the LockDown Browser or launch the LockDown Browser if they've used it before. And then it will take them through the processes of showing their face on the camera, showing an ID if that's what you choose for them to do, environment check, all the different things that you turned on or off for this particular quiz. And once again, all that's in the documentation, but this is the basic process for how you initially get the LockDown Browser installed in your course and assign it to a quiz.